In topic 3, we get to use some other cool things that make loops even more powerful, like break, else, and continue. There are times when you want to interrupt your loops for a certain condition. So maybe you're halfway through a loop iteration and you get what you want out of the user, or you get to a point where you're like, hey, I need to exit this loop right now, or you want to exit that iteration of the loop. And I'm going to show you both here. So there's several ways of doing this. Here's an example where we break out of a loop early using the break command. So here's my list of words. I created a list of words called list of words. And you can see it's word 1, word 2, word 3, word 4, sandwich, word 6, word 7, word 8. And I've got a word count equals 0. And I'm saying in a for loop, I'm saying for x in list of words. So each time we go through this for loop, x is going to become the next word in the list. I'm going to do a word count plus 1, essentially. So word count will increment. And then at the end, I'm going to print, and I'm going to print my word count. So if I run this as it is, you can see it's going to print out the last word because it finishes the loop, and it's going to print out 8 because it counted 8 words. However, I can put this in here inside my loop, and I can say, hey, if I find out on this iteration of the loop, if I find out that x equals sandwich, then I want to break. And what break does is it ends the entire loop sequence. So wherever you get the break, it drops you right out of the loop and continues down through your program. So if I run this now, you can see that instead of getting word 8 and 8, I get sandwich in word 5, or in 5, because it gets to the 5th word and then it stops the loop. So that's what break does for you. They can be used in for loops as well as while loops. We can also use continue, which is similar to break, but what continue does is it drops you out of that iteration of the loop and starts the loop over. So whereas break gets you out of the loop altogether, continue just gets you out of the current iteration of the loop. So here's just a goofy little program. I've got for value in syntactically. Again, this is a for loop. So what this is going to do is for each iteration of the loop, it's going to take, because it's a string, it's going to take 1 character from the string. So the first time, val is going to become s. The second time around, val is going to become y. Third time, val is going to be n, et cetera, until it gets through the whole word. Now I'm leaving this commented just to show you how it works as it is. If I run this, you can see that it prints out syntactically, vertically. But I don't want to do that. I want to say, hey, if any of the characters, if val is any of these characters, A, E, I, O, U, or Y, I want to bounce out of that iteration of the loop. But otherwise, I want to print it normally. So the first letter, it's going to be an S. So val is an S. S is not in this list, so then it's going to go down to else and print the character. On the second time around, val is going to become Y. Y is in this list, as you can see. So then it's going to continue, which means it's not going to do this down here. It's going to start the loop over and go to N. So you should be able to predict what's going to happen here. When I run this again, I hit it, and you can see instead of getting syntactically, I get because all the vowels are gone. So it's just showing you that while the for loop will continue, it doesn't continue that iteration. So this iteration of the loop only happens if this statement fails in this case. So I just said this, the difference between break and continue is that break exits the loop entirely, but the continue only exits the current iteration of the loop. And again, just hammering this home a little bit, here's a visual of the same thing. In this case, I'm entering the loop. I'm going to test it. It's true. Is there a break? Yes, exit the loop. Otherwise, complete the loop and go back and test the expression again. So in this case, the break, you can see, bounces you out of the loop. On this side, this is the continue. You can see it's going to take it back to the beginning of the loop without completing the loop, but it doesn't get you out of the loop. Like this keeps going around and around, even if you have continues, as long as this expression continues to be true. So they're similar, but you can see the lines on the other side in this case. By the way, if you don't know what syntactically means, it just means that the syntax is correct. I think it's used a couple of times in Blackboard, so I want to make sure you know what the word was, which is why I made that program using that crazy word. And it's a fun word to say. It makes it sound smart. Okay, you can also use else commands within loops. So the else is only executed if the loop completes without a break happening. So I'm going to show an example, obviously. So here I've got a program. First, I'm initializing user input is empty. Initializing user list is empty. And I'm saying input count is -1. You'll see why in a minute. So while user input is not equal to done, which we know it isn't because I've just put in empty, I'm saying, hey, give me a word, enter done when you are complete, or quit to exit. So very similar, but not quite the same. I essentially have two sentinel values in this case that I'm saying, hey, if you want to be done entering your list, great. Or if you just want to get out of the program altogether, choose quit or type quit. And then I follow it up with saying, hey, if the user enters quit, then say later gator and break, which ends the program in this case. Because as I just said, if you break, then the while loop ends, and this else statement does not run because I did a break. So these two are linked. If you break out, this section does not run. But if the user doesn't enter quit, then it continues on. It says, hey, append to user input list, and then do an input count +1, and then start the while loop over. Hey, did the user type done? No? Okay, then let's continue on, etc., until the user either types in done or quit. This program never ends. And I'm going to do it both ways. So I'm going to run it first, and I'm going to enter a word, whatever, something, and now I'm done. So I'm going to type done. And I can see that I get your list, whatever, something. So pretty straightforward. And the reason I did this -1, I guess I didn't mention it clearly, is because I was keeping track of how many items were put into the list, and then I'm deleting the last item in the list because the last item is going to be my sentinel value, and I don't want to include my sentinel value in my output list. So that's why I did it that way. Earlier in the lecture, you saw that I did it the other way around, where I deleted the first item in the list. In this case, I'm doing it the other way, where I'm deleting the last item in the list. Just depends on the order of inserting versus deleting. So I'm going to run the program again. This time, I'm going to put in something else, and you know what? I don't even want to do this anymore. I'm just going to quit, and then you can see it says later gator because that's what happens in the break, but it doesn't ever run this section of code because I broke out of the loop. Okay, and that is the last thing I need to show you this week. I thought I had one more slide, but I must not. Continuing from that, you would just need to go into Blackboard and start looking over the materials there. And then there are 4 assignments this week. Come on, Blackboard. There is the basic for loop assignment, input validation while loop assignment, the exiting while loop assignment, and the loop quiz. So make sure that you get all 4 of those done this week. As always, I will make myself available to assist. This video is going to be, you're listening to the video, so you've already, the slides that I use in the video are going to be in the Module 5 help location, as well as on my GitHub repo, so you can access them wherever is more to your benefit.